Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Going to be giving you my predictions for Manchester United's game against Norwich. So score prediction, I'm going to go with 3-0 to Manchester United. And the goal scorers, I'm going to go with Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he'll score 2. And the other goal scorer, I'm going to go with Marcus Rashford. So that is your predictions. On my next video, I'll be giving you my predicted 11 for this game. This is Ralph Rangnick's first Premier League away game as manager. So far, Rangnick has managed 2 games in all competitions. He's won 1 and he's drawn 1. Ralph Rangnick is Manchester United's interim manager until the end of the season. Then after that, Rangnick will continue in a consultancy role for a further 2 years. If Rangnick does well as the interim manager, there's a chance that he'll get the Man United job on a permanent basis. Rangnick has been given a 100 million transfer budget for January. He can get quite a few players out of that. Rangnick wants Amadou Haidara as his first signing as Manchester United manager. Amadou Haidara has a £33 million release clause. Revert back to the other week, the Manchester Evening News said that Rangnick wants a Timo Werner reunion at Man United. I'm hearing that Manchester United have expressed an interest in Rudiger, and Manchester United are also interested in Frankie de Jong. Before Manchester United, Ralph Rangnick was the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow. Manchester United are coming into this game against Norwich on the back of a 1-1 draw with Young Boys. Obviously in the game against Young Boys, Rangnick heavily rotated. Because it was a meaningless game, Manchester United are already into the last 16 of the Champions League. Obviously we saw Charlie Savage come on against Young Boys. He made his debut. Charlie Savage is the son of Robbie Savage. We saw Zidane Iqbal come on. He also made his debut. Tom Eaton, he made his first team debut. So there you go. Manchester United won the last league game against Crystal Palace 1-0, thanks to a stunning goal from Fred late on. Manchester United do have some injuries. The most recent player to get injured is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka came off injured at the end of the game against Young Boys. I thought he was poor against Young Boys. His positioning was poor, and he was partly to blame for the Young Boys' equaliser because he didn't react quick enough to Donnie Van Der Beek's pass. Paul Pogba, he's still out with a thigh injury. He's out for the rest of the year. Martial's injured. He picked up the injury not so long ago. Varane he's still out with a hamstring injury, and Edison Cavani is still injured. I'm expecting Manchester United to beat Norwich because Norwich are very poor. Norwich are bottom of the league. Norwich are going down this season. The last time Manchester United played Norwich was in the FA Cup last year. Manchester United won 2-1 after extra time. Norwich, they're coming into this game on the back of a 3-0 defeat to Tottenham. The Norwich manager is Dean Smith. Norwich appointed him in earlier on in the season. Dean Smith did sign a 2.5-year contract. Dean Smith was sacked by Aston Villa earlier on this season. Before Dean Smith, Norwich had Daniel Farke. Norwich sacked Daniel Farke. I do know quite a few of the players that Norwich have got. Revert back to what I mentioned on the preview. Obviously, they've got Josh Sargent. They got Josh Sargent last summer. They've also got Adam Idah. They've got Teemu Pukki. Now, Teemu Pukki is definitely one of their key players. Norwich have also got Billy Gilmore. At one point, he was at Chelsea. They've also got Rashika. He's out with injury at the moment. They've also got Zimmerman. He's out with injury. Matthias Norman. He's out with injury at the moment. Norwich have also got Todd Cantwell. You know, he's another one of Norwich's key players. They've also got Grant Hanley. They've got Max Aarons, who I really like. Max Aarons is a fullback. Norwich have also got Sam Byron. They've also got Kabak. They've got Brandon Williams. Brandon Williams won't be able to play in this game because it's his parent club. You know, Williams is on loan at Norwich from Manchester United. One of Norwich's goalkeepers is Tim Krul. I think Tim Krul is their first choice goalkeeper. So there you go. Don't forget, Norwich lost Buendia to Aston Villa. And they also lost Ben Godfrey to Everton. Manchester United's next league game after Norwich is Brentford. Manchester United now have winnable games coming up. I can assure at the end of the season that Manchester United will get a permanent manager. There's been quite a few names linked with a permanent role at Man United. Erik ten Hag's been mentioned a lot. Edwin van der Sar recently spoke out on Manchester United's interest in Erik ten Hag. Edwin van der Sar believes Ajax may lose Erik ten Hag in the summer. Revert back to earlier on in the season, it said Erik ten Hag is said to be interested in the Man United job in the summer, and Ajax will not stand in his way if he wants to leave. Edwin van der Sar expects a Man United role in the future. I'd love to see Edwin van der Sar come back to the club. You know, Edwin van der Sar is the former Manchester United goalkeeper. You know, Van der Sar was the Man United goalkeeper for 6 years, and obviously Van der Sar won 4 Premier League titles. He won the League Cup, he won the Community Shield, and he also won the Champions League. Edwin van der Sar is a CEO at Ajax. He's worked as a CEO at Ajax since 2016. Roberto Mancini, he's been mentioned. Revert back to last week. He said Manchester United consider hiring Roberto Mancini as the next permanent manager. But recently, Roberto Mancini denied becoming Manchester United's next permanent boss. Mauricio Pochettino, I still believe he's the favourite to become Manchester United's next permanent manager. Brendan Rodgers was also mentioned earlier on in the season. Manchester United have sacked 4 permanent managers since Ferguson. You know, Manchester United sacked David Moyes, sacked Louis van Gaal, sacked Jose Mourinho, and sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over 2 weeks ago, following the 4-1 defeat to Watford. Manchester United have got some very, very good players. I am convinced that we're going to get the best out of these group of players under Ralf Rangnick. You know, it was a good team performance against Crystal Palace last weekend. Weren't a brilliant performance against Young Boys, but like I said earlier on, Ralf Rangnick heavily rotated. But look who we've got. You know, we've got Mason Greenwood. He's a talented player. Greenwood obviously played against Young Boys recently, scored a very good volley, and it was a lovely cross by Luke Shaw. Greenwood came on in the game against Crystal Palace last week, and he got the assist for the Fred goal. Greenwood was out for a while with COVID. At one point, Greenwood did go a while without scoring, but despite that, I think he's been a revelation since he broke into our senior squad. Greenwood made his senior debut for Man United back in 2019. He's been a United player since the age of 7, so he has been part of the club for a long time, and last season, Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract. Jadon Sancho, he's also a decent player as well. Sancho's done well recently. Sancho obviously played no part against Young Boys. He played last weekend against Crystal Palace. He was very good in the first half, but faded away in the second half. He weren't too bad against Arsenal, was Sancho. Sancho played very well in the games against Villarreal and Chelsea, because Sancho scored in both of them games. Sancho scored 2 goals for the club so far. But it's good now that Sancho is starting to settle in. You know, revert back to when Man United had Solskjaer, Man United were not getting the best out of Sancho, because obviously Solskjaer was persistently playing him out of position, and there was quite a few games Sancho wasn't even involved in under Ole. You know, Sancho endured 4 good years at Borussia Dortmund before he signed for Man United. You know, Man United got Sancho for 78 million with add-ons included. You know, Man United paid 73 million up front. Sancho's got a contract with Man United until June 2026. There's an option of a further year. Manchester United have got the best player in the world overall in Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, Ronaldo played no part against young boys. He played against Crystal Palace last weekend. He had his chances against Palace, but he couldn't convert them, unfortunately. Prior to the game against Crystal Palace, Cristiano Ronaldo was a doubt, because reports were saying that Ronaldo suffered a knee issue when he was celebrating in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. Ronaldo did get a brace against Arsenal, including the winner from the penalty. Ronaldo now has 801 goals in his career, and he's scored around 12 goals for Manchester United in all competitions since he re-signed. Ronaldo's got back-to-back awards since he re-signed as well, because revert back to October, he got named Player of the Month, and revert back to September, he got named Premier League Player of the Month. Ronaldo has won over 30 trophies in his playing career, including 5 Ballon d'Ors. Ronaldo has got a contract with Man United till 2023. There's an option of a further year. Ronaldo receives £480,000 a week, so he's the highest earner at Man United at the moment. He does wear the number 7 shirt, and Man United got Ronaldo for 19.8 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around 12.78 million up front. Bruno Fernandes, he's also a very good player as well. He's one of our best players, and he's one of the best signings we've made since Ferguson retired. Fernandes didn't play any part against young boys recently, but he played in the game against Crystal Palace last weekend. He had chances in that game, but he couldn't convert them, just like Ronaldo couldn't. Fernandes did score in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. It was a lovely build-up to the Fernandes goal against Arsenal. It was a lovely flick from Fred to find Fernandes. Fernandes has had poor games this season. On the other side of things, though, he's had a lot of games where he's been consistent for Man United. Bruno Fernandes starts the vast majority of Manchester United's games, so reflecting on that, he will get fatigue. You know, Manchester United got Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon back in January 2020. You know, Fernandes has been a Manchester United player for almost 2 years now. Revert back to earlier on in the season, Bruno Fernandes made it clear that he wants to stay at Man United. And when he first came to Man United, he said, "I've come to Manchester to win trophies." Bruno Fernandes has got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further 12 months. Revert back to earlier on in the season, there was talks of Fernandes extending his contract. Man United have also got Marcus Rashford. That's a good player overall. Rashford, though, has endured a lot of poor games at Manchester United, but he's had some good games as well. Rashford obviously didn't play any part against young boys recently. He did play against Crystal Palace last weekend. He was quite poor in that game. His movement at times against Crystal Palace was good, and he got some good runs in behind, but I thought his decision making was very, very poor, and he did look sloppy when he had the ball. Rashford was actually quite poor against Arsenal, but he still managed to get an assist. At one point, Rashford was out with a shoulder injury for a while, and at one point he had to have an operation on his shoulder. Rashford's been part of the club for a long time. He's been a Man United player since the age of 7, and he's been in our senior squad since 2016. Rashford's got a contract with Man United until 2023. Edison Cavani, he's also a good player as well. Cavani is out with injury at the moment. He had an injury earlier on this season. Cavani initially lost his place in the team when the club re-signed Ronaldo last summer. Cavani will be leaving Man United next year. He's interested in making a move to Barcelona. Well, recent reports said that Barcelona are keen on signing Edison Cavani in January, but only for a modest price. We might as well cash in for him in January rather than let him go on a free next summer, because next summer Cavani's current contract expires. Revert back to May, Cavani signed that 1-year contract extension. This season is Cavani's second full season at Man United. Man United got Cavani on a free transfer from PSG. Cavani's got a good pedigree behind him though, with the amount of silverware he won when he was at PSG, and he was also a long-serving player when he was at PSG. He netted around 200 times when he was a PSG player in like 300 odd appearances. Donnie Van Der Beek, he's also a good player as well. I'm hoping he can get the opportunities he's been demanding under Ralph Rangnick, because if that does happen, then that will persuade Van Der Beek not to leave next year. Van Der Beek recently started against Young Boys. He was in an unfamiliar role. He was the holding midfielder. He put a good performance out against Young Boys recently. Van Der Beek, though, was the culprit for the Young Boys equaliser because he gifted possession to, was it Fabian Rieder? But apart from that mistake, he did well. Van Der Beek didn't start against Crystal Palace last week, but he came on in the game. I thought he was actually going to start against Crystal Palace last weekend. Revert back to when Man United had Solskjaer. Van Der Beek was obviously very frustrated because he got nowhere near enough opportunities. Van Der Beek has only scored 2 goals for the club, and he's been a Manchester United player now for over a year and a half. This season is Van Der Beek's second full season at Man United. Man United got Van Der Beek for 40 million with add-ons included. He's got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further year, and he's versatile. He can play in 3 different roles. Fred. I don't think he's a good player overall, but he has impressed me in recent weeks. Fred played very well against Crystal Palace last weekend. Scored a stunning goal late on. Wasn't only the goal against Palace why he was good though. I thought his movement in the game was good. He kept the ball well. He got in some decent positions as well, and his passing was sublime. Fred played well against Arsenal because he got an assist in that game, and he won the penalty as well because he got brought down by Martin Odegaard in the 6-yard box. And he did well in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea earlier on in the season at Stamford Bridge. Fred obviously played no part against Young Boys recently. I'm hoping Fred can continue with these good performances. Manchester United got Fred for around 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk a few years ago now. Paul Pogba, he's also a good player as well. He's not only a good player, he's an imperative player. Revert back towards the start of the season when Pogba was fit. Pogba did well. Pogba's got 7 assists so far in the Premier League this season. He produced good performances for Man United in the last couple of months of last season, but at one point last season he was out with a thigh injury for a while. And Pogba's now out with a thigh injury. He's been out for a while. Pogba's out for the rest of the year with this thigh injury. He got the thigh injury in France training earlier on this season. Do you think Paul Pogba will leave Manchester United next year? Or could the appointment of Ralph Rangnick persuade Paul Pogba to stay and sign a new contract? Pogba's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to the start of the season, Pogba rejected a new Man United contract offer. Malik Tellez, I think he's also a very good left back. Tellez obviously didn't play against Young Boys recently. Luke Shaw came back into the team, but prior to the Young Boys game, Tellez started our last 4 games in all competitions, and his performances were very, very good. And I did mention after the 1-0 win against Palace that, Tellez is undroppable. But Tellez only played in them 4 games because Luke Shaw was out with a concussion. Revert back to earlier on this season, Tellez had an injury, didn't he? And the reason Manchester United brought Tellez in was to provide competition for Shaw. Man United got Tellez for around 15.4 million from Porto, with add-ons included. I think Luke Shaw is a good left-back overall. Hasn't really proven though how good he can be this season. I think he's been poor in a lot of the games he's played in this season when he has been fit, and I'm shocked in that aspect because last season Luke Shaw was superb. Luke Shaw did well though recently against Young Boys on his comeback. Luke Shaw got forward well, he got in some good positions and he got the assist for the Mason Greenwood goal. I'm sure as the season goes on, Luke Shaw will regain his form and put his bad form behind him. He's injury prone is Shaw, which is a concern. Luke Shaw's been at Manchester United for around 8 years now, so he's been a long-serving player. Shaw's got under 2 years left on his contract. Diego Dalot, he's a decent right back as well. Dalot didn't play against Young Boys recently because Bissaka made his comeback. But prior to the Young Boys game, Dalot started our last 2 games. So yeah, we'll just say Dalot started our last 2 league games and, very, very impressive. Last season Dalot had a loan spell with AC Milan, and reflecting on that, he gained some experience. Man United got Dalot around 3 years ago from Porto, paid around £19 million for him. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think he's a good right back defensively, but the attacking side of his game is not so good. There's aspects of his game that have to improve. He's got to show more attacking intent. His crossing has to improve a bit more, and his positioning also has to improve. Like I said earlier on in this video, Bissaka was poor against Young Boys recently. Don't forget he got sent off in the first match against Young Boys, did Bissaka. Bissaka's now injured. He came off injured after the 1-1 draw with Young Boys. Manchester United got Bissaka for 50 million from Crystal Palace back in the summer of 2019. And Man United have also got Eric Bailly. That's a good centre-half. We've got Varane, that's a good centre-half, but Varane's not available at the moment still because he's out with a hamstring injury. Varane has endured 2 injuries at Manchester United since he signed for the club, because revert back to earlier on this season, Varane was out with a groin injury for a few weeks. Harry Maguire, he can be a good centre-half when he wants to be. Hasn't really proven how good he can be in a lot of the games he's endured at Manchester United. He's had some good games, but he's had a lot more bad games. Maguire didn't play any part against Young Boys recently, but he played last week against Crystal Palace, and to his credit he put a good performance out, but that was the best performance he put out in a while, to be honest with you. Revert back to earlier on in the season, Maguire had a calf injury, didn't he? And last season he had ligament damage in his ankle. And, we've got David De Gea. That's a very, very good goalkeeper as well. I've got to give De Gea credit. He's done really well this season. De Gea obviously wasn't in goal for the game against Young Boys recently, was Dean Henderson in goal. That was Henderson's second appearance this season. De Gea was in goal for our last league game against Crystal Palace. He had very little to do in that game. He was only called into action from long range efforts. De Gea wasn't too bad against Arsenal. He did enjoy a bizarre moment, don't forget. But he made some good saves in the game against Arsenal to deny Aubameyang and Gabriel. Did well against Chelsea as well earlier on in the season. Made some good saves in that game to deny Adoy and Rudiger. And Dean Henderson, I think he's a decent goalkeeper as well. He did well yesterday against Young Boys. You know, he made some good saves. Most of them were straightforward saves because a lot of Young Boys' shots came from long range. And Henderson was proactive off his line. As you all know, Henderson wants a loan move away from Man United next year. I'm hearing that Ajax want him. And that Anthony Elanga, you know, he looks a very good asset for the first team squad. Obviously started yesterday night against Young Boys. Weren't brilliant. Showed some good pace at times, and I do recall him having a good chance in the game. Produced a good save from the Young Boys goalkeeper. Elanga came on against Crystal Palace last weekend. I haven't had a great deal of a perception on Elanga because he doesn't really get in the first team much. And Amad Diallo, you know, he's another one that looks a good asset for the first team squad. But again, haven't really had much of a great deal of a perception on him because he hasn't played that much in the first team. To be honest, I expected Amad Diallo to play a lot more than he has, reflecting on what Man United paid for him. We got Amad Diallo in a deal worth 37 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around 19 million up front. So there you go. So now guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.